I'm going to share with you guys the 4 phases of development that I've used for literally thousands of kids that have motor apraxias and dramatically changed their life. And you can apply these over the next 12 months to change your own child's life as well. These phases have allowed me to help kids with motor apraxias, to help kids with developmental delays, autism, speech delays, traumatic brain injuries, and they also work extremely well for motor apraxias because they're all designed to help with developing the motor systems. I'm going to teach you guys step by step how to look at these systems to actually make a change to your kid this year. And I know it'll work because I've used it on literally thousands of kids. And at the end, I'm even going to give you a free handout with all the tests that I actually recommend that a kid with motor apraxia do, and also all the assessments that I recommend a child does to see what is going on underneath the hood. What's the underlying mechanisms? What are the underlying contributing factors that are going on that's not allowing that brain to develop? It's not allowing the cerebellum to develop. It's actually the underlying causes and contributing factors to their motor apraxia in the first place. So I'm really excited to give you guys that resource and help you learn that piece of it as well. And just like I tell so many parents, there's no better time than now to work on these things. Your child's brain develops at its fastest rate. The younger it is, the earlier you can work on these things, the better. So I urge you to jump in and work on these systems as early as possible because you will get massive dividends going forward. Without further explanation, here's the 4 phases that are going to dramatically change your life this year. Number 1 is energy and inflammation. So many kids come in with neurological inflammation, with energy production issues and mitochondrial disruptions, and we need energy for our brain to function well. With kids that have motor apraxias, their cerebellum is highly involved, meaning their cerebellum can't do its job appropriately because it's either too inflamed or it doesn't have enough energy. But the best part is there's labs to figure this out. So the most important thing that we can do is actually figure out what's the underlying mechanism that's contributing to this in the first place. Does the child have food sensitivities like a gluten or gliadin sensitivity that's going to have molecular mimicry with the cerebellum? Is the child anemic? Do they have blood glucose dysregulation that's going to affect this? Do they have a thyroid issue? Do they have neuroautoimmune issues? I cannot tell you how many kids I have seen in the past that have neural inflammation that's contributing to their underlying motor development issues. It's so common, it'd blow your mind. So we simply run labs for this. In the sheet that I'm going to give you, the free resource, it says all the labs that actually should be ran for this population based off of my experience over the last 10 years. I remember early on, probably like 6 years ago now, I had a patient that came to me that had severe motor apraxia, wasn't able to walk, and we simply ran some labs and we figured out that she had a massive energy production issue. And after we supplemented and supported the energy systems and used some different equipment to do that, she started walking within 2 weeks. That is when I first realized the importance of energy production and making sure the brain wasn't too inflamed so that way all these motor systems can actually make the connections that they're supposed to make in the first place. So if you want to set a solid foundation, you need to figure out any underlying mechanisms that are going on that can stop the brain from developing in the first place. Which brings us to phase 2. Primitive reflexes are the neurological and foundation of our motor systems. If no one's worked on primitive reflexes in your child or even mentioned them to you, you're missing one of the biggest pieces for motor development that you possibly could. Primitive reflexes are reflexes that should have gone away in the first year of life. I don't know that I've ever seen a kid with a motor apraxia that has actually developed their primitive reflexes appropriately, especially when you know how to assess them and what's going on. These reflexes play into everything from using our upper and lower body together, using the right and left side of our body together, being able to do things like ride a bike, tying your shoes, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, eye tracking skills, balance, coordination. These reflexes have to develop for our brain to start to mature and start to develop our motor systems efficiently. And if they don't develop, we don't set a foundation for the next phases of development I'm going to talk about. But what I want to do is in that handout I'm going to give you, I'm going to share with you guys the most common primitive reflexes that a child has and a guide to actually start working on some of those things, because those reflexes are super, super important. And you can often work on those from home, or if you come to someone like me, we can get rid of them much, much, much faster, but they are an extremely important aspect to start working on as early as possible. When we do our intensives in the office, the first time a kid is in the office, the majority of what we're working on is primitive reflexes, and that is when we get the biggest changes in motor skills is simply by working on those reflexes. I had a kid here just a couple weeks ago that had super low tone, had motor apraxia, wasn't able to crawl at all, was about 2 years old. After just working on primitive reflexes and using our M field to get more tone, that child actually started to crawl for the first time, which was really cool to see, but it reinforces that you have to get rid of primitive reflexes to start to set the foundation for our motor systems to develop. If no one has taught you about primitive reflexes, or this is the first time you're hearing about it, go to my Instagram, Dr. Josh Mattson, and just simply comment apraxia. And I'm gonna give you this full document that explains the most common primitive reflexes present in kids that have motor apraxia from my experience over the last 10 years of working with these kids. Which brings us to phase 3, which is one of my favorite phases to work on. This is the vestibular system. Our vestibular system is, number one, it's like a firing pin for our brain. It keeps our brain active, but it's what allows us to perceive motion and movement. So when we go up against gravity, our vestibular system starts getting really activated. When our vestibular system gets activated, it lights up the rest of our brain. But most importantly, if we have an imbalance in our vestibular system or lack of development, now we don't have that input in appropriately to our motor centers to understand where we are in space. We can't coordinate our body appropriately to the environment that we're in, so we look uncoordinated. We have trouble coordinating our motor systems, which is really the hallmark of what's going on. So the most common deficits that I see in this system, a lack of what are called postural reflexes that should develop after our primitive reflexes go away, and an inability to keep our eyes stable when our body moves. When that's going on and they can't keep their eyes stable when they move, it gives it a mismatch between our eyes and our balance centers, which makes it really hard to coordinate our body appropriately. I will have so many kids that come in at that 3 or 4 or 5 years old that maybe they have developed their primitive reflexes appropriately, maybe they're doing all the right thing nutrition-wise, but their vestibular system just isn't quite clicking in appropriately, and they can't coordinate their balance with their eye movements. When we simply start to get these systems to integrate, their movement dramatically changes. Now that you understand the first 3 phases, if we have to get energy, we have to get inflammation down, then we have to work on primitive reflexes, then we have to work on the vestibular system. The next phase, and one of the most important phases, is our ocular system. Phase 4 is getting the eyes to work with the body. You would be amazed at how many kids cannot use their eyes appropriately with their body. A simple way to look at this is have them look at you or look at your finger and have them start turn their head for them and say, look, keep your eyes on my finger. So as I turn my head, they should be able to keep their eyes on my finger. A lot of times you'll see as their head turns, their eyes automatically go where their head goes. They can't use their eyes independent of their head appropriately. And you can do this slow, you can do it fast, and you'll see bigger deficits when you do it quickly. But the reason why this is important is because our eyes, our balance centers, and the muscle tone of our body, they all develop together inside the womb in what's called the homologous column. They are one single system. So if they're not working together, your eyes are giving one set of information, your vestibular system is giving a different set of information, and your muscle tone is giving a different set of information, there's a massive mismatch there. And now our brain cannot coordinate where our body is in space. When these 3 systems are working and orchestrated appropriately together and working well together, now we can start creating complex movements and complex motor skills. And the reason why you see work on reflexes first, then vestibular, then ocular, is because that's the normal developmental sequence. When you look at the developmental timelines of how a child's supposed to develop and what systems clicks in where, a lot of them, they all really develop in the first couple years of life, but reflexes start their development first, then the vestibular system, then the eyes start getting really strong after that. That's the normal sequence of development, and that's why we approach it in that way. And when you approach it with your child over the next 12 months in that way, it makes a dramatic difference for their life. Biggest deficits you'll see in the eyes of the child that has motor apraxia is, number 1, they often cannot fixate their eyes. They can't keep their eyes stable. Number 2, they cannot saccade appropriately, meaning they can't jump from one target to another one accurately. Number 3, they can't pursue appropriately. They can't track an object appropriately because their cerebellum is so involved in every single one of those things. If our cerebellum's weak, we can't do those activities. And lastly, they'll usually have convergence issues where they can't bring their eyes in appropriately. That'll start creating depth perception issues, and therefore when you have depth perception issues, you actually, you might trip going up curves. You You can't create coordinated complex movements. You can't catch a ball very easy. These are all things that have to do with how the eyes work together, but prior to ever working on the eyes, we have to set a foundation underneath that. I cannot tell you how many kids with apraxia have came into our office with massive eye tracking issues. They've been doing vision therapy for years and years and years, really made no progress. But once we got a foundation we got rid of their primitive reflexes, we got their vestibular system to integrate, their eyes started improving on their own, and then vision therapy went really well after that. So if you want to make a massive difference to your child's apraxic issues this year, work on it in this order. Make sure they have enough energy. Make sure that the brain isn't too inflamed. Work on primitive reflexes, then vestibular, then ocular. If you just go to my Instagram page, Dr. Josh Matson, and you comment apraxia, I'm gonna give you a guide for this to help you guys out dramatically so you don't have to try to remember everything in this video. If your kid also has a developmental delay and is motor apraxic, check out my next video, Autism and Mitochondria, and I break down really the first thing that I talked about. I talk about how inflammation, different environmental factors are going to affect our energy production, and it'll start to set a really nice foundation for you to understand that first phase of development that I talked about at the beginning of this video. Have an awesome day.